We're here to talk about tequila, but any discussion of tequila should begin with the word mezcal, because mezcal is the word to describe all agave-based spirits made in Mexico. And at one time, tequila would have been called Mezcal de Tequila, because you see, tequila is a place. Tequila is a town. And mezcal is to tequila as brandy is to cognac. Cognac is a specific type of brandy from a town. Tequila is a specific type of mezcal from a town in Jalisco. Now, of course, we all know that the agave plant is not a cactus, even though it looks like one. It's actually a member of the lily family. It's a succulent. And the very word agavacea comes from the Greek word for nobility. We see several different kinds of agaves growing in several different regions throughout Mexico. And just like grapes in wine, different agaves have different flavors, grown in different microclimates, grown in different soil types. You get the picture. The blue agave is the one that grows in Jalisco. And that's where they happen to make this thing called tequila. But today we're teaching a category of mezcal, and although I will spend most of my time on tequila, because it is by far the most important in our marketplace, the agave plant, it's not just about mezcal. The agave plant is the centerpiece for a Native American lifestyle. The agave plant is part and parcel, it's the soul of the Native American of Mexico. And this product is an indigenous product, it's an artisanal product, and it dates back hundreds, now maybe thousands of years. One of the most important factors in the flavor of the final product of mezcal or tequila is the geography of where these agaves are grown. Whether they're in the highlands or the lowlands makes a huge difference because of altitude. Now understand that most of the country of Mexico is at very, very high altitude, meaning 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,000 feet above sea level, mountainous terrain, and that's where agaves grow best. Wine's made from what? Grapes? Okay? Grapes are harvested every year. What makes the difference in great wine? The harvest, the ripeness, the location, right? And a number of other things. In the agave, the key is location. Let's talk about tequila production. Formerly, we would have said that all tequila comes from the town of Tequila in the region of Jalisco. But understand that there are now 5 states being allowed to make tequila, and not just as in the old days, shipping their agaves back to Jalisco to be distilled. They can distill in these other 5 states now as well. To the north, number 2 is Nayarit. To the east is Guanajuato. That's number 4, I believe. Number 3 below it is Michoacan. And then all the way over on the other side on the Bay of Monterey, we have Tamaulipas. Down below, you'll see Oaxaca. But understand there are 8 states that have DOs to make mezcal. Oaxaca just happens to be the single most important. There are actually several different kinds of agaves being planted around Mexico. Surely we use the blue agave in those volcanic clay soils in Jalisco. But we see Espadín, Sotal, Tepestate, Cereal, Tobala, various different kinds of agave growing all around Mexico, particularly in Oaxaca, in Michoacan, in Guanajuato, in Tamaulipas, in Chihuahua. These types of agaves make a different flavor, a different style of mezcal. And I would urge you to think of mezcal and tequila perhaps more like wine than you do like other spirits. And the reason for that is this. Those agaves, for example, think of them like grapes. Different grape varieties make different flavors in wine no matter where you grow them. Well, these agaves, no matter where you grow them, make different flavor profiles in the mezcals. But it's more than that. How do I harvest this agave? When do I bring it in? A humidor is going to make a decision like the viticulturalist would in the vineyard. But it's based upon ripeness. It's based upon sugar levels. It's based upon balance of sugar and acidity. And the difference being grapes are harvested every vintage. Hopefully you get a great vintage every year. Well, in agave, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 years for an agave to ripen changes the equation considerably. Now, once this agave is harvested, it's like wood, the piña, the corazón, the heart of the agave. We need to convert starches to sugars. And how we convert those starches has a big role, whether we're roasting them underground as we would in Oaxaca, perhaps we're baking them in hornos, in small ovens, in adobe, in stainless, maybe in big ovens, in autoclaves. There are a lot of different ways that we can extract. Not that one is better than the other, but certainly the flavors would change. Now, how am I going to ferment? The length of time of fermentation, the type of yeast that I use, the length of time of distillation, the type of stills that I use. And then once they come out of the still, I have decisions to make about the aging process of these mezcals and tequilas. We have aging classifications. We have decisions that we have to make based upon oak aging or not. So as the drips come out of the still, I'm going to make a decision to call it Blanco. You might have seen the word plata, or even platino is used as a kind of a patented word. Blanco is the correct term. It means white in Spanish. Plata means silver, and it's been grandfathered in on some of the brands that are in the United States. Blanco means that from the moment it comes out of the still until 59 days later, I've got 2 months to make a decision about my tequila. If I put it in oak, that's my decision, as long as it's bottled in 2 months. From that point up until about 11 or 12 months, I have what we call reposado, which means rested. Now, I say that loosely because there are reposados that are even longer than that have been grandfathered in by the laws. But the bottom line is the majority of them are 3, 6, 8, 10 months in any kind of oak that I want. Now we have the classification of añejo. And añejo literally implies and requires by law that the tequila spends at least a minimum of 1 year in small oak casks. And small oak, not 225 liters like in wine, but rather 500 and 600 liters like we'd use in spirits production. Now from there's a relatively new classification called extra añejo. And extra añejo means a minimum of 3 years in these same small oak casks. And you probably know that recently we've added flavored tequilas to the classification, very much like flavored vodkas and flavored rums, and there's an application for those, of course, in cocktails, I'm sure. Now, let's talk about this product and how it became so important in the United States, because tequila hasn't always been all that. In Prohibition times, tequila started working its way across the border. And certainly back in the pioneer days, if you will, in the Wild West days, we saw tequila consumption, particularly in the lower United States, in the Southwest and Southern California and so forth. It shows up in the 40s and 50s in the Hollywood set, but we really don't see tequila happening until the 1980s in the United States. That's when it becomes the rage. And that's because Mexican food becomes popular. We oftentimes mirror our food trends with our drinking trends. Tequila and mezcal were originally artisanal products. That said, today there is, tequila's huge, as you probably know. What you may not understand or may not know just yet is that 75% of the tequila produced is exported. 78% of what's exported is exported to the United States. The agave plant is the center for the subsistence lifestyle of the Native American in Mexico. And as such, tequila and mezcal is an artisanal, handcrafted product that is virtually woven into the fabric of the culture of Mexico. Today, I urge you to look at the bottle. If it doesn't say Hecho en Mexico, made in Mexico, if it doesn't say 100% agave, are we really doing the service to these producers that we should, these artisanal, handcrafted producers? Today, tequila is still one of the fastest growing premium spirits categories in the United States. Today, we use tequila not just in the margarita, but in several different very, very exciting cocktails. And it's emerging as an even more important spirit in cocktails. What I urge you to do is look at the heritage, look at the history, look at the following, look at the fact that this is an art form in Mexico. And if all of that isn't enough to you, you know, UNESCO, the United Nations Heritage Organization, it has recently declared the haciendas and the Campos de Agave, the agave fields of Jalisco, as a World Heritage Site. Tequila, mezcal are only growing. Watch for the mezcals from these other states starting to take their place next to tequila on your back bar.